Greetings, friends, and welcome to episode number 67 of the Dharma Junkie podcast. First of all, I wanted to just take a moment to thank every single person that listens to this show. I really can't express the gratitude that I have for all of you. And if you're a new listener and you enjoy this episode or find it useful in any way, then please go rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And if anyone, new or otherwise, would care to contribute to keeping the show going and growing, donations can be sent via Cash App or Venmo to Dharma Junkie, all one word. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's kind of get to it. On this episode, my guest is Jaden Rae. Jaden is the founder of Steamy Kitchen, which is a site dedicated to mindful living and food-based wellness. She's authored 2 best-selling cookbooks and is currently writing a book on microdosing. Her 17-year-old blog receives 8 million page views per month. God, that's a lot. From over 500,000 unique visitors per month. She's also a regular contributor on The List and daytime television shows, and to top it off, she's just a wonderful person. And we had a really great conversation that I think you'll all enjoy and will get a lot of good information from because we do a deep dive on the benefits of microdosing and psilocybe cubensis cultivation, which I found fascinating. So, I'm not going to ramble anymore. We'll get to it. Without further ado, Jaden Rae.
You might catch yourself sliding in and out of a hallucinatory state. Just relax and enjoy it. Just relax and enjoy it.
This is an experiment in mind formation. Information. Forming, controlling, operating your mind and your brain. Using digital techniques to overload, scramble, confuse, unfocus your mind. The natural state of the brain is chaos. Chaos is beautiful.
Jaden Rae, how are you?
Oh my gosh, I am so good. This is a wonderful day today.
I've been having a tremendous day myself. Tell me about yours. What's been going on with you?
Well, okay. So yesterday I get an email from a producer at a morning show in Sacramento, a Good Day Sacramento show. Mm-hmm. And she says, hey, can you come on tomorrow and, come on live and we'll give you 2 segments, which is like 7 minutes. And in 1 hour of a morning show, like from 10 to 11, big chunk of that is ads. Mm. And then if they gave me 7 minutes out of their morning news show, there's not a lot happening in the news in Sacramento. So they gave me 2 segments, but that was this morning. And the story I mentioned earlier before we started recording, the funny story about microdosing. And today was that yesterday I was microdosing on a substance that gave me just expansiveness and the can-do attitude. I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to slay the day, and then I get that email and I'm like, of course I can do it. And then I sent that email and a couple hours later, as I was going, it was a slow down. Yeah. I was like, what the heck did I just agree to? I need to go to the store right now. I need to figure out what recipe I'm going to do. I've got to get all the groceries. I've got a recipe test. So sometimes, microdosing, and depending on the substance, you have a different sort of your mental, emotional, spiritual, physical reaction. And yesterday was one of those really can-do attitudes. And yeah, I got myself into a early morning Good Day Sacramento cooking live on TV from my kitchen. So it was a wonderful day. I killed it. So yeah.
How did it end up working out for you?
Oh, it was great. Sometimes when you do, oh my gosh, I got to show it to you. It's a book from Fantastic Fungi, from Netflix. It's the community book, and I'll send you the picture later. So if you want to edit that picture in, it's a community book for Fantastic Fungi. And in there's a recipe called polenta board. Oh. And on the polenta board, there's this giant board, the size of your table. Okay, massive board. Mm. And you take polenta and you spread it all over this board. And then on top of the polenta, you have a sausage and mushroom ragu. And it was so delicious. And a rich tomato sauce. I had lots of cheese, toasted pine nuts, some parsley on top. And the whole concept of having a polenta board is that everyone gets to dig in. And you get a spoon and you just dig right in. So I did that was my cooking segment this morning.
That's super fun. So cooking is your forte, correct?
Yes, it is.
You
Cooking and blogging.
Right. You want to give me a little background about you and what you do?
Yeah, sure. 17 years ago, I started a food blog called Steamy Kitchen. And back then, nobody knew what a blog was. So on my business card, I had business cards back then. On my business card, I put alternative journalist because no one knew what a blog was, right? I put blogger, no one would know what that was. But I started a food blog years and years ago. And I knew immediately, like, I wanted to create a business out of this blog, this website, and spent the next few years just building up this amazing, massive business that I lucky enough that I happened to read 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I built a 4-hour work week. So it's been a very long time. It's still chugging along. It's stronger than ever. And we're just having a lot of fun with it. But, my forte is really teaching people, taking a complicated subject and breaking it down and then teaching that to people. So whether it's cooking or maybe growing or, now microdosing, hopefully that I can translate my skills into a different arena.
Right. That's super cool. And you said growing. What exactly are you growing?
Oh, I'm growing lots of things. I turned my whole spare bedroom. Well, after Fantastic Fungi documentary, I was like, oh my God, I need to grow mushrooms. So I took my entire spare bedroom. I have a tent in there and I was growing lion's mane. I have oyster mushrooms. I have magic mushrooms. Right now, there's no edible gourmet mushrooms in there. Everything is psilocybin. But once I finish this round, I'm going to try growing cordyceps.
Oh, cool.
I love the way they look. They're just so pretty.
They're super. It was Fantastic Fungi that got you involved in mycology?
Yeah. The funny thing is a year ago, last year, I had never tried mushrooms at all. I'd never, ever in my life. And it was a mutual, it was a friend that, gave me some microdosing tablets. And it was funny because I was over at his house and I said, oh, I need some coffee. And he goes, okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to bring you a cup of coffee and I'll be right back. And so he brought me my cup of coffee. I'm like, oh, just savoring my coffee because I needed it to wake up. And he's like, oh, this is my coffee. And he brings out a jar with capsules in it. And that's how I learned about microdosing and just curious ever since then and wanted to understand everything from spore to, the medicine that I make. I wanted to know every single step.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, mycology, it's pretty fascinating. The growing process is super interesting. What do you grow with? Oh
my gosh.
There's so many really different mediums.
Yeah, there are different mediums and I'm still experimenting. Like there's so many things to experiment with. And it actually is difficult, meaning you can contam. Oh, I'm in Las Vegas.
Okay. How
about you? Where are you?
I'm in Florida. So the legality of such things here is kind of preventative from us doing such endeavors. Right. Right. I'm not sure.
Same here.
Right.
But, I think, that it'll go the way that cannabis goes. And, am I scared talking about it? Yeah, I've had so many discussions. I go back and forth. Is this something I want to talk about publicly? Because, because of Steamy Kitchen, what do I do with this? And in the end, my desire to help other people and just to, get conversations started around microdosing to me is absolutely worth it.
Right. Yeah. I feel there's really no other way to break the stigma about it than to have open dialogue about the subject. I mean, there's so many studies going on right now that show the beneficial aspects and the efficacy of psychedelic use for mental health applications, for addiction treatment purposes.
Exactly. The funny thing is, with Fantastic Fungi and with all these other shows that are, even on Hulu, there was a show, I forgot what it was called, but it was a series on Hulu and they were showing, it was, the character was at I think it was some kind of healing center and they were giving psilocybin. So if mainstream media can highlight medicinal mushrooms, then, it just makes it easier to talk about in public.
Right.
But, when you go on YouTube or even on any of the social medias and you find people that are masters at growing, everyone's wearing a face mask, everyone's got the hat low, and, they don't want to give up their identity. And so, hopefully in the next couple of years, people will not be so afraid to cover their faces and not afraid to show their faces and be more open and free to talk about.
Right. So how long exactly have you been microdosing now?
It's been a year. It's been a year. Mm-hmm.
How have you, how would you note the benefits? I mean,
I kept a journal. I'm 49, and I've had many years in, being an entrepreneur, and I've had many years of just debilitating depression and anxiety. Like just the craziest thing. I'd be driving in my car, and then my mind would take over and imagine someone crashing into me. Or I'd be walking in the store and my mind would imagine someone robbing me. And none of this happens, but in my mind, it created such a strong reality, and it became a habit. And after the habit, it became almost an addiction to think like that, because it was a little bit comforting, and a little bit exciting because I don't know what's going to happen. But at the same time, it was absolutely debilitating. And I went to doctors, and it was so easy to get prescriptions for every single antidepressant. I don't know if you've ever been on antidepressants before, but you've got to wait a certain number of weeks before it starts kicking in. And then the side effects are horrible. They're really horrible. And I've tried every single one of them, and none of that stuff worked. And in fact, the side effects were worse than actually just having the anxiety.
Yeah, generally.
And have you been on antidepressants before?
I have in the past. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's, you get the, that type of your heart races sometimes on that type of medication, and then I can't sleep, I'm gaining weight, all this stuff. And I'm like, shoot, I'd rather just be depressed than all these side effects. And it wasn't until I started microdosing mushrooms, and it only took a couple days. It took maybe 2 days where I started feeling like, I feel kind of good. Like, wow. It wasn't like the smack in the face type of, feeling. It was just at the end of the day, I was like, I had a really good day. And even though, not everything went my way, I'm good. So that's how it starts.
Right. And what kind of, as far as microdosing, what kind of dosage are you using?
Oh, well, when I first started, I was itty bitty baby. It was like 100 milligrams, maybe even less than that. I was so afraid to take too much because I'd never done a trip with mushrooms before. And I still haven't. To me, mushrooms are my medicine, and it's not so, maybe one day I'll be ready for a big psychedelic experience. But right now, I have so much respect for the mushroom that I kind of want to keep it in this little, microdosing dosage. So I started with 100, and now I'm around 250 milligrams. It's still very, very little tiny capsule.
Right. Yeah, that's a quarter of a gram. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, that's probably a good range for microdosing. You got to be really careful with the dosage on that, because you just a little too high, and then you start getting some of the actual psychedelic effects, and it seems to be a microdose, and you're like, oops. Right.
Yeah. And you don't want to be, operating machinery when you're on like a heavy dose. But, I found that anywhere between 200 and 250 is a good, nice, steady, a dosage for me where I don't feel it. I don't feel anything. And I always tell people, like, if you feel something, cut your dosage down, lower the dosage, and you might have taken too much. It's always better to start with a little bit and then ramp your way up. But the most important thing is to actually track every day how you feel. So at the end of the day, I created the microdosing journal. End of the day, I would say, oh, this is how I feel, and then rate from 1 to 10 on different types of feelings. How did I feel today? How was it happiness? How did I turn things around? Or was it an easy day? Was it a difficult day? Did I sleep well? So over time, you get to see certain patterns, and the only way you know whether or not something's working is if you track it. So I highly recommend people track everything.
Absolutely. And that was really smart of you to do that, because I think a lot of people may go into that endeavor without the foresight to keep track of that,
Yeah.
You got to go off of that. I mean, it's important to go off of how you feel, but it's really important, like you were saying, to keep track of the patterns of how you feel and like, note how over the course of time it works.
Yeah, because, honestly, I don't even remember what happened last week or 3 days ago, much less how did I feel, and trying to remember, was this a good experience or bad experience, or do I need more or do I need less? I microdose on different substances, different medicines for different effects. So, during the daytime, microdosing on mushrooms gives me this like groundedness and calmness and like just a steady hand in everything that I do. If something bad happens, I'm able to turn it around and flip it right away instead of, wallowing in misery or anxiety or ruminating. I think that's the good word. That's the proper word. Is I don't really ruminate anymore. And I owe that to mushrooms for sure. And then at night, if I need to sleep, I'll take a different medicine to help me sleep and stay asleep throughout the whole night.
Right. That's excellent. Yeah, I think natural medicine is vastly overlooked, due to pharmaceutical interests.
Right.
And there's no money in the cure.
I know there's no money in, like, even with like there's a lot of money in cannabis now. Right. But that's because all these companies have, these major companies have, built incredible brands. Along with that, the price of cannabis has gone up as well significantly, for the really good stuff, because there's so much regulation and so much red tape that they have to mark it up because they have to cover their costs. But cannabis is what I microdose on at night to sleep.
Yeah, that seems to be the best option for that.
Right.
At least in my history, that's been the best option for me. I never really liked any kind of pharmaceutical sleeping medications. It's just too heavily sedative, and I am in recovery from an opiate issue. So I have to stay away from stuff like that, like altogether.
Yeah.
Just stay away from stuff, but I still, nicotine and caffeine, those are my go-tos these days.
Nicotine and caffeine. Awesome. I have a ginger turmeric tea.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Yeah. I'm a big matcha fan. I like matcha a lot. I don't know why. I think I'm some sort of a masochist, I think.
Do you like the bitter taste of it?
I think so. But I like black coffee too. So
yeah, me too. I drink black coffee, but I only drink 1 cup in the morning and then I'm done. That's it. I find like if I drink too much of it, I just get the shakes, and then it's just almost too much.
Right. Yeah. See, I'm not really caffeine sensitive. I just, something about coffee, the way it just, I don't know. It's almost too acidic.
Oh. Yeah. What I like about coffee is that just the smell of it. And it's almost like a ritual. It's my ritual in the morning. That 1 cup, I use an AeroPress and I fresh grind my beans. So it's just my morning ritual. And I think it's good to have rituals. Do you have a ritual in the morning?
Oh, yes, definitely. That's not the first time this topic has come up today in conversation. Actually, we were talking about a ritual in an interview I had earlier. Yes, nice. I have a ritual. First thing I do every morning, get up, make my bed like I never slept in it. Nice. Second thing, generally get a shower. Third thing, I meditate for 10, 15 minutes or so. And then eat a light breakfast and go about my day. That's my.
Have you ever tried doing breath work, like Wim Hof breath work?
Oh yeah, like I said, I meditate, and that includes some sort of some breathing techniques. So.
Yeah, that's nice. I have a hard time sitting still. So meditating, just sitting there meditating is really hard for me to do.
Oh,
I still haven't quite mastered that yet. I know, right?
You're exactly who it was meant for.
I know.
You have a hard time sitting still. That's exactly what you should be doing. Exactly.
But I have started doing breathwork technique. A friend of mine, Damon D'Amato, he's called the breathwork visionary. He had me over at his house, at his healing center a few weeks ago. And he taught me this incredible breathwork where you're breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And there's this rhythm. And it's almost like saturating all of your cells with oxygen. And then he has me hold your breath, hold your breath for 45 seconds, hold your breath for how long. And then afterwards, like it's almost like a high just from breath work. It feels like this. It's a combination of peacefulness and power, and the two together is how you feel sitting there. And you're like, oh fuck, I feel amazing. I feel so invincible, but not like I need to go do something. It's this peace, this centeredness, and I'm sure this is what you get out of meditating as well.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, the long and the short of it. Yeah, basically.
All right. One day you're going to have to teach me how to meditate.
Really more what I get is just a deeper insight into myself. You know, that's more what meditation provides me. It gives me a lot of answers to things that have long been pondered, questioned, and things I didn't even know I needed to address. Mostly that's what it shows me. The things I didn't even know that I needed to address. Right.
That's real work. I love it.
Yeah. So what about yourself? Do you, what's your morning routine look like? I'm sure you have one. You have to.
I do. Well, I have 3 dogs, 2 giant dogs, 2 mastiffs, and a little rescue who's like this little tiny poodle that's the biggest asshole ever. And he's a rescue. And so he runs the show. He runs the show for sure. And, so make sure that they're taken care of, they're fed. I do my coffee. I do my mushroom work in the morning with my coffee in my hand. So I'll go into my mushroom room, and where I have a tent and a humidifier, make sure there's water in the humidifier, because I'm in Vegas and it is so dry here. Oh, yeah. And mushrooms are like 90%, 98% water. So, the mushrooms just cannot live in a dry climate like that. So I have to keep them in the tent, especially in the winter when it's warm and I have the heater going on. Everything dries out so fast. So I take care of the mushrooms. Most of the time I'll have something to harvest. So I like to harvest them, and then I like to weigh them out and keep record of everything. I have a notebook where what type of strain I'm growing, what am I growing it in? Am I using just straight cocoa coir with vermiculite and gypsum, or do I add like poop to it, like manure to it, and enhance the substrate? Where did I get this genetics from? How long did it take before it started pinning? And then how long before I harvested, and what was the weight of the harvest? So, I try to keep track of things, because just like in the microdosing book journal, like I don't know progress unless I can identify patterns. And so that's why I keep track of everything when I grow.
Seems like a solid plan.
Yeah, it's so
for
peaceful. It's, harvesting mushrooms, taking care of mushrooms is so incredibly peaceful. I used to live in Florida. Mm-hmm. I used to live in Sarasota, Bradenton area, and loved it there. I had 5 acres out in the county, and we had chickens, we had ducks, we had aquaponics garden, hydroponics garden. I grew microgreens. We had I had a greenhouse. I mean, I grew enough food that come fall, when zucchini is in harvest, I have buckets and buckets full of produce. And if I recognize your car in the parking lot of the grocery store, I'm going to open it and throw in some zucchini and some lettuce and some eggs. I had so much food, but I miss that. And, now that I'm in Vegas, of course, I don't have this massive garden anymore. And, growing mushrooms indoors, whether they're gourmet or medicinal, is just so soothing. And I think that's also part of my meditation practice is, I do this in quiet. It's super early in the morning. No one else is awake. And it's just almost a meditative practice for me as well.
Right on. That's super cool. What kind of issues have you run into as far as growing? I've heard that contamination can be an issue, and
yeah, I just threw out a couple of bags that got the rye grain that I use for colonizing, that got contaminated. I saw little green specks, and I'm like, oh no. So those are gone. Oh. But actually, as long as you're clean, and I do everything in a still air box. So basically I take a giant clear tub, drill 2 holes for my arms to go in. And now I have a still air box where, the heater, the AC is not blowing stuff all over my spores or agar. The still air box works really well. Some people have a flow hood, a laminar flow hood, which I actually had one, a giant 4-foot long one, but it was just huge. It was just way too big, and it was almost overkill for a home mycologist, But contam is probably one of the, biggest problems. And, like I said in the beginning, like growing mushrooms is not that hard, except for the beginning portion when one little speck of bacteria can ruin everything, So as long as you get that under control, the rest of it is just follow the steps. And, I learned how to grow from Willie Myco on YouTube. Huh. I watched every single one of his videos. And then I ended up joining his Patreon, which gave me access to a Discord channel. And, that's my community now. I love the mycology community. Everyone's so helpful and so supportive.
Oh, that's super cool.
Do you have a community that you're a part of that is your people, your group of people?
Yeah, I've got a few different ones. I've got a few different little communities. None of them grow mushrooms, but
always good to have one person.
We're not that kind of community.
Always good to have one person.
That's what they say. And there might be one. I just don't know them.
Well, they'll hear this podcast.
I'm sure they'll make themselves known after this.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, that's super fascinating. It seems like a pretty cool hobby to have.
I love it so much. And I can't wait to get started on cordyceps. They're a different type of mushroom that of course are legal. So I can grow them without being a little, cautious. Like my parents come over and that door is closed and they know not to go in there. You don't want to know what's in there. Just keep that door closed. But yeah, I can't wait to start growing cordyceps and learning how to grow reishi and cordyceps on my next two projects. I have no idea what type of temperatures or substrate they like. So I'm going to be starting research from scratch.
What are some of the benefits of the cordyceps mushroom?
Oh my God. Cordyceps are good for blood circulation and good for anti-inflammatory. Like all of these mushrooms most of them have anti-inflammatory properties and fungal properties, antibacterial properties. So, when things like COVID is floating around, it's always good to, stock up on natural medicine that can help protect you and increase your defenses. So I try to do as much as possible.
Right on. It seems like you're doing a lot. You said you're already growing lion's mane?
Yeah, I've grown lion's mane. I don't have anything growing right now, but I've grown. Oh, those are so fun to grow. It's just a little puffball. And then a couple days later, it's like tripled in size. Oh, cool. And then when it's time to harvest, it's bigger than your head. And you're like, what am I going to do with this thing? Is
the process for that similar to growing the psilocybes, or is?
No, it's a little different. Similar in terms of like it needs the humidity but the substrate's a little bit different. I forgot what the mix was. But it's a similar process. You want to put your spores to agar to grain to substrate, and then you can fruit from the substrate.
You're like speaking Greek to me right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, all those little steps have, every single little step is so important. Especially the beginning steps are, if you have to be super careful not to contaminate the mushrooms, the spores.
That makes sense because I guess whatever substrate you're using, is pretty high in nutrients, right?
It is.
If it's going to grow the mushrooms, it'll obviously grow other like molds and fungus and stuff.
Exactly. So, lion's mane, I think, is the most fun to grow out of all the mushrooms. I love growing that the most because the harvesting of it is just so much fun. And there's a couple different lion's mane mushrooms. One that's kind of like a puffy and puffball, and they look like pom-poms. And then there's one where the gills just look like they're dripping, like a real lion's mane, like hair on a lion's mane. Both really pretty. And I've done several television cooking segments with lion's mane. Made crab cakes out of them. Made corn chowder with the lion's mane. My favorite thing to do is dehydrate the lion's mane and then throw it into whatever the dish that I want to, have, because it doesn't last forever in the refrigerator. So dehydrated gives me the shelf life that I'm looking for.
And I've heard something about the flavor of lion's mane. They say it's very similar to like, I think what the lobster? Crab or I know some sort of shellfish.
Well, okay. They say that. I'd say the texture is similar. Okay. I don't say, it is mild. And if you close your eyes and, you're like, okay, I get it. I
can see how some of it get it.
Mushroom. It's the texture really that resembles crab meat. And then you can doctor it up flavor-wise too, so that it could taste like crab, because it's such a mild tasting mushroom that you can, with different spices and different, like if I mixed it with ginger, garlic, fish sauce, a little bit of sesame oil and soy sauce, I can put it in any stir fry or any Southeast Asian dish or a curry, and you wouldn't be like, oh, I taste mushroom. You wouldn't taste the mushroom in it. You'd just be like, oh, this is delicious.
Right. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And what are some?
You like cooking with mushrooms?
Oh, yeah.
Do you cook with mushrooms?
I love cooking with all types of things. But no, I love mushrooms. I love mushrooms. Mushrooms are delicious. So some of them more so than others. I've had some that I didn't care for. I'm not a big shiitake fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Something about the flavor of them is just a little.
Maybe it's the texture, because it is more rubbery. It's especially dried. It is a little more rubbery.
Yeah, that could possibly be it.
Yeah,
I don't know. So how long have you been cooking?
Oh my goodness. So the blog started 17 years ago. Oh my gosh. So my mom loves to cook, and I'm from Hong Kong, and I grew up in Nebraska. So it was a big divide from going to Hong Kong to a little tiny town in Nebraska. My mom didn't speak any English, and she made friends, and she learned English through food, through our neighbors. They would teach her how to make apple pie, and my mom would teach them how to make fried rice. And so she grew up, I grew up just with food everywhere in the house. And the reason why I call my website Steamy Kitchen is because, it's sort of like an ode to my mom. My mom always had some soup simmering on the stove. Every day there was something cooking. So it was a steamy kitchen. And, that's why I called it Steamy Kitchen. But when I was little, she loved to cook so much that she would never let me in the kitchen, because she would like to do everything herself. And me and my brother would always end up getting like the shit jobs, like, wash the dishes, or, on bean sprouts, pluck the ends off the bean sprouts, or the tails off the bean sprouts, or wash these vegetables. And I'm like, I don't want to cook. So it wasn't until I went off to college. I went to UCLA, and I was in a dorm. And then after the dorm, I had an apartment with 3 other roommates. And I discovered that I could cook. And if I cooked, they would buy groceries and do all of the housework. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so in. So that's how I started becoming an expert in cooking, was in college. I didn't have to buy groceries, and I didn't have to clean the house. Good trade.
It seems like a pretty good deal to me.
Right, exactly. So I've been cooking for a very long time. And it wasn't until, I did a lot of TV early on in the Steamy Kitchen years. When I first started the blog, I wrote a couple of cookbooks and did really well. Then retooled the business to be something that was purely online. So I didn't have to go to New York all the time to do TV. And then built the 4-hour work week with Steamy Kitchen. And it's still a 4-hour work week for me now. But, it's just, it's a business that I hope to continue for as long as I can. It's been, so many years now, and it's still growing every single year. And I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to, build a business from a food blog.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. It seems like it was probably a lot of hard work at the beginning, huh?
It was a lot of hard work. My kids were itty bitty. They were little toddlers, little babies. And I was every couple of weeks, I was flying to New York, flying to Chicago, flying to LA, doing this, doing that, this type of media or sponsorship or meetings. And I was in the lobby of the Food Network. I had a meeting with Food Network, and I was in the lobby, and I had called my ex-husband, and I was crying. And I was like, I am so close to getting what I want, like my goals for Steamy Kitchen. I would have loved my own cooking show on the Food Network. And I was crying, and I was like, I'm so close to getting what I want, yet why am I so unhappy? And all I want to do is come home, because I was missing my babies. And that was when we decided to redesign the business so that it wasn't based on me doing work, or me flying somewhere. And it was more based on online and advertising. And, Yeah. So it was hard work at first. And now, I have a great team that helps me run it, and I rely on them. And my business manager Amanda and Dre here, she handles all my social media, and Deanna and her team in Washington that handle all of my development work. It's a good, solid team, and I can't say enough about having the right team in place.
Right. Yeah. Good luck trying to do anything going it alone. It's going to be a
I
bumpy road.
Yeah. I know. Well, when I first started blogging years ago, I taught myself everything. I had to teach myself WordPress, how to code, how to write recipes, how to photograph food, how to edit video, all of that. It was DIY. And now with YouTube, you can learn any type of skill that you want. And I think people are so spoiled these days with having information right now. I want to learn this, I want to learn how to grow cordyceps. All I have to do is watch 5 YouTube videos, and then, I can go out and try to do it on my own. I can't imagine not having YouTube, right?
Right. No, it's fantastic. It really is an excellent resource.
Yeah. What's a new skill? What's a new skill that you learned recently?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. Trying to think of something. I learned how to install self-checkouts.
Oh, really? That's not what I was expecting to hear. Awesome.
I don't know.
So what are you going to do with that experience?
I guess I'm going to install some more self-checkouts if the opportunity presents itself.
Oh my goodness.
That's about the only thing new I've learned lately. Nothing really fantastic. I keep it in my wheelhouse for the most part. I'm about to go into a year-long meditation facilitator training. So that'll be interesting. I'll learn a lot more about meditation and how to lead meditation groups.
Oh my goodness. That sounds so amazing. That sounds fantastic. I can't wait to see what you do with that. Yeah. You can teach me.
So that's something that I have been in the process of learning. I'm not going to say that I have learned it, because I feel like it's kind of an open-ended thing that you don't ever really learn, Right. It's more the process than it is any kind of an actual destination.
Right. I'm journey. About the journey.
Really, I'm just steady trying to just build this podcast up. That's been my main focus lately. Is what I'm trying to learn is how to make this podcast a popular podcast.
Oh my gosh. I think you're doing great. I think you're doing great.
I'm doing all right. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Hopefully at some point, it'll start returning some to me so that I can just reinvest back into it. That would be nice. It would be nice to monetize in some aspect, just to be able to, if it could pay for itself, at least, that would be cool.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. It's more of just
a labor of love right now.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It's a labor of love, because I do enjoy doing it. So I obviously wouldn't be sitting here doing it if I didn't enjoy doing it.
Right.
But so that's my learning curve right now, is trying to figure out the whole social media game with this, and it's fun. It can be frustrating at times, but we take it in stride.
I quit social media. It was making me so depressed years ago, probably like 8 years ago. I completely quit.
I hate it.
I hate it.
I hate it.
Yeah. But it's a necessary evil.
If I didn't have a podcast, I wouldn't be on it at all.
Right.
If I didn't have shit to promote.
Yeah, I know. So I just stopped all social media because it was just so bad for me mentally. Yeah. And then, my team last year said, Jaden, you got to do social media. You're a blogger, your whole business is online. This is your thing. I'm like, oh, crap. All right, I'll do it. And then yesterday I sent my first tweet since like 2018, maybe even before that. And I didn't know I had 115,000 followers. I had no idea. I'm like, all these people are waiting to hear from me. Maybe I should tweet more.
You should just check it less. You can come back, you'll have like 1.5 million followers. You're like, oh shit, what happened? So it seemed like just yesterday I only had 150,000. That's too funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So what are your plans for the future?
Gosh, well, I'm writing a microdosing book. It's a journal that I can that we're going to put up on Amazon. You can order a hard copy of it. So that's coming out early March. I'm so excited for that because, really, I think that the journey of microdosing for people, it has to start with a journal because you want to see where you start and the progress that you're making. Or if not, microdosing could be not be the right substance, or you could be microdosing a substance that is not right for what you're trying to achieve. Right. So I'll say a little bit more about that a little bit later. But writing a microdosing book, the journal's gonna come out early March. I'm so excited about that. And get this, my team wants me to start a podcast. I've been so scared to start a podcast. You know why?
Why is that?
I'm a very visual person. So, when I'm cooking, TV, all that, everything's very, very visual. And a podcast to me is just so scary because I'm sitting here. I'm not doing anything with my hands. No, it's just a different modality that I'm not quite used to. I'm just such a, visual person and demonstrating type, with my hands. So, auditory is just not necessarily something that I'm very good at. But, everyone says you got to try it and you're really good at it. So, I've recorded a couple of episodes and we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing to it. There's
right.
a bit of a learning, it's like anything else. There's a bit of a learning curve at the beginning. Once you kind of get it streamlined down, it took me a minute and then I've kind of figured it out and I was like, okay, now I get how to.
How many episodes do you have now?
How many do I've released 59. I've probably got another 10 or 12 that I haven't even released yet. Yeah. So and a bunch that I didn't release.
Oh, you're like, no.
Yeah, so some of them were just we didn't mesh very well,
Got it. Right.
And it was obvious. So it was like, these aren't,
yeah.
You can't win them all.
No, you can't. You can't get along with everybody, but
But yeah, I'm probably recorded somewhere in the 80 plus range, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so I do want to say something before we move on. And it's like there's many different medicines that you can microdose. It's not just mushrooms. You can microdose pretty much anything. And every type of medicine has a different effect. So one medicine like cannabis would make me tired and sleepy, and then I can sleep all night. Another substance might make me just super energetic and full of possibilities, like yesterday that I took. And that's different. So you can pick and choose every day, like, oh, what do I have going on today? And what do I need help with? And that's the beauty of microdosing is like, you're not on a trip. You're not having a psychedelic experience. It's just a little of nature's medicine to help you through the day. Right. So, I kind of pick and choose. I don't know what I'm going to be microdosing until after my coffee.
Question. Do you have any intention in macrodosing in the future?
I do. Absolutely. I do. I'm waiting for the right, everyone says set and setting. I'm waiting for the right setting, meaning like the right people, the right teacher. Right. And I'm not going to force it. And it's going to come it's going to happen when it happens. And, I really trust my gut on this, and, I'll know it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Tread lightly into those waters.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And, you have to respect that. You have to respect the process, and you have to respect the medicine. It's not something like I would take something and go party. That's not what I want to do. I think there's just,
that was my introduction into psychedelics. Was when I was, as a teenager, was partying with them, and then in my 20s, I figured out that they were for more than that. And after that, it ceased to be a party thing for me. Like I said, I don't really do anything anymore, but. When I did, it was at the end of it. It was not a party thing for me. It was more of a sacrament.
It was epic,
thing.
Huh?
Yeah, it was like, all right, I'm gonna go deep in and work on some stuff.
Right.
I need to figure some things out.
The funny thing is, I hadn't done prior to last year, or when I first started microdosing, I hadn't done any psychedelics for like 22 2 years. It'd been a long time. Okay. And I'd only done one thing. I'd only done ecstasy. And so, I was having, conversations with my friends, like, what else should I try? And they listed all these different names for, and, all these different names. I'm like, what is that? All these new names for medicine. And I'm like, oh, now I have to learn a whole new language. Yeah. So,
there's a lot of stuff.
People don't say ecstasy anymore. People say MDMA or Molly, Sally or Sass, and all these code names. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a nomenclature to all of it that has definitely evolved over time.
Yeah.
So macrodosing,
not done
it yet, but going to. Noted.
Yes.
Noted. Yeah. Tread lightly with that. Yeah, that for sure. I've had a lot of experience macrodosing in the past.
Yeah.
Like I used to eat 5 grams of psilocybin on a regular basis.
Oh my goodness.
And that's a lot.
That is a lot.
So look out.
Right.
It can, like I said, work your way up to that, because that's speaking from prior experience. Like, it's not something you really want to just jump headlong into. You definitely want to ease your way into that one. But it can be definitely a very life-changing experience.
I have no doubt about that. I always say, like, I try. Now, I don't always practice this, but, one thing at a time, because if you start changing too many things all at once, it gets a little bit chaotic, and then you don't know what's working or what's not, or one thing might affect another thing. And so, I've really just dedicated the past year to understanding microdosing and how it affects my body and my mind and my spirit, my soul, physically. And then I've also spent a lot of time microdosing different medicines so that I can tell the differences between each one of them. And right now, that's my sweet spot, and I love it. And I'm not saying that I don't take, like, larger doses of other medicines, but it's not like, oh, I want to go on a massive trip, or I want to go party or something.
Who has time for that?
I don't know. Hey, I'm in Vegas. Everybody has time for partying.
Hey, that's true. I guess. I've actually never been to Vegas.
Oh my gosh, you gotta come. I went to, for New Year's Eve. Should I tell this story? Okay, I'll tell it. New Year's Eve, we went to a party. My boyfriend's in the cannabis industry. And so we went to Mike Tyson, the boxer's party, his cannabis brand, in Vegas. It was a great party, so fun, DJ, great house music, a beautiful mansion. And then at 11:30, the cops came. Like, there was 10 cop cars in front. I was like, oh my God, let's get out of here. 11:30. Can you believe they broke up the party at 11:30 before on New Year's Eve, before the countdown? That's nuts. So everyone had to leave. But yeah, crazy. Other than that, Las Vegas loves to party, and I'm surprised that the cops actually broke up that party.
Wow, they shut down Tyson Farms' New Year's Eve party.
They did. Crazy. Everyone had to leave, and I'm like, I don't know. 99% of the people here, we don't know. So let's get out of here, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the cops are here for somebody, or who knows. So I was like, we need to go now. So I spent the countdown in a lift.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you got a good story out of it, right? Right, I mean, if nothing else, you got a great story.
Nothing else, I got a great story out of it.
Sometimes that's all you can ask for, because really, in the end, that's all you were looking for anyway.
Right. I just wanted the story.
That's all. I mean, with anything we do, that's all we have left after the fact is the story about it. So.
Right. That's so true.
But that's a pretty good one. It could have been worse. You could have said, I spent the countdown in handcuffs.
Oh, I know, right?
Which would have altered the story entirely.
Yeah, we wouldn't be sitting here talking on this podcast.
I don't know. It's been a few days now. You'd probably bonded out by now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm bonded out.
I'm sure one of somebody on your team would have bonded you out.
Oh my God, I'm crying.
So where can people find you at?
Oh, well, I'm at steamykitchen.com, but also all my mycology stuff is at Jaden Rae, JadenRae on Instagram. And I guess on Twitter now with my 115,000 followers. No, the Steamy Kitchen Twitter is what I have all these followers on. But yeah, JadenRae.com, JadenRae is where all my mycology information will be.
Cool. That's awesome. And that's awesome that you're putting that information out there for people. And I am looking forward to your book that's coming out.
Yes.
Please let
early
me know
March.
when that releases.
I will.
And I will definitely plug it for you on the show.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
I hope you have a lovely evening. Thanks again to Jaden Rae for being on the show. If you would like to get in touch with her or look up any of her work, she can be found at jadenrae.com. That's JadenRae.com, or on Instagram at Hey Jaden Rae. Thanks again for listening. This has been Dharma Junkie. Namaste.